Next up, can you guess? That's right, Transformers. One lonely issue as usual. Issue number 24, which I believe is the last one of this run, or this current story arc, anyways. So, at the end of the last issue, Prime and Megatron were about to have their fight. So, this issue picks up in the middle of that fight. So, they're beating the Christ out of each other. Prime has the upper hand, but then a bunch of humans get in the way, and Megatron's like, haha, now I can expose his weakness, right? So then the fact that Prime's trying to not get the humans killed, Megatron then gains the upper hand and takes over, and eventually is able to lift Prime high up in the air and fire him down with Starscream's help onto a bunch of like jagged poles that are sitting up, sticking up out of the earth, and he kind of gets like impaled on a bunch of them. And it's like, so then in the meantime, Starscream, Soundwave and Bruticus and Devastator show up, and Soundwave's like, my lord, the Decepticons are victorious. We've taken heavy losses, but all is good. Megatron's like, great. And in the meantime, Starscream has gone off, and he has chased down Spike and Carly, scoops them up, as well as Beachcomber, and brings them to Megatron. And so Megatron lays Beachcomber, Spike, and Carly down in front of Prime, and he's like, okay, Prime, you have a decision to make. I'm going to teach you the meaning of pain and suffering and you know, being a bitch. So he's like, you have a choice to make. So Megatron transforms into gun mode. Starscream's holding him, and he says, you can save one of your own, Beachcomber, or you can save these pathetic two humans. Make your choice. And Prime's like, no. And he's like, I figured you'd say that. And so then he's like, I guess I'll just have to kill them all. So then Megatron's like, Starscream, pull the trigger, kill them. And in the meantime, just before that happens, Omega Supreme, the big, huge robot that transforms into a rocket ship and a train and whatever, I think they're called Sentinels, that type of robot. One that looks exactly like Omega Supreme flies overhead, and Starscream looks up, and it jogs his memory, and he's like, my name is Ulchtar. So it sends him into this kind of weird, like, I'm not Starscream, like, I'm not a Decepticon, like, what is going on? And so Megatron gets frustrated that he won't pull the trigger, so he transforms and blasts Starscream in the face, so his head basically explodes. And Megatron's like, I'll do it myself then. But then all of a sudden, out of the blue, remember Cliffjumper pushed Metalhead into the portal on Cybertron to come back to Earth to save Carly and those guys? He shows up at the last second and deals with Megatron and kicks the crap out of him, and eventually Prime is able to recover and finish the job. And Megatron's like, please, Prime, have mercy. And Prime's like, you who's shown our mercy now plead for it? No! And so he continues to kick the shit out of him until the Decepticons are able to grab Megatron's carcass, and Megatron's able to call the retreat. So they're in bad shape. They're retreating. So Spike and Carly are saved. Beachcomber is saved. They've still taken heavy damage and stuff like that. But everybody is safe now. And as the issue in the storyline closes out, the matrix of leadership inside Prime comes back alive and starts to like glow again. So you know, it's all good tidings. Everything's getting back to normal. Everything's going to be okay, at least for those who survived anyways. So yeah, can't wait to see if they start up a new arc. Like, I don't know what's happening with Transformers. Like, there used to be a regular Transformers issue, and then they don't always have a bunch of sub-series back when it was with IDW or whatever. But now that it's with Image, they've just had the one regular series going on with no other things. So I don't know what they're planning, but I can't wait to go to the comic shop in November and, you know, see what's happening soon enough. All right, last up, a couple of G.I. Joe issues. The first one is really cool. I think it's just a one-off, and it is called Cold Slither. So, Cold Slither is basically, it's I don't know when this started, but the Dreadnoks, like the original ones led by Zartan, so there's Zartan, Buzzer, Ripper, and Torch. They play in a band called Cold Slither. That I don't think that was ever anything in the GI Joe series that I remember. But lately, I've seen even at like the GI Joe Classified series that I unboxed, like they have the Cold Slither band set, and now they have this comic issue. So and there's even a video and a music video with the song. So this issue is all about that. So it's basically like a guy like Geraldo Rivera is talking about like whatever happened to Cold Slither? We're going to do an expose. So it's basically this host going back through the history of Cold Slither. So how it started was Destro and Baroness wrote, had an AI program write a catchy song. And they were like, oh, this is great. Now we just need somebody to play it. So they enlisted the Dreadnoks to play it. And before Cold Slither could ever really take off, their first concert was rated by G.I. Joe, and so the whole thing was busted up. But years later, with streaming services and YouTube channels and all that shit, the music video became a hit. People were watching it like crazy, but behind it was subliminal messaging that said like, Cobra is the best, you'll be joining us soon, blah, blah, blah. So it led to a new world order of Cobra being in command and Cobra Commander being the grand president of the world and whatever. And so this host goes to visit and catch up with all the members of Cold Slither. So I think Ripper is like just a domesticated suburban dad and husband. Torch is like playing in a wedding band. Buzzer was a prof at like a Cobra educational institution. And Zartan is like a martial arts teacher sort of thing. So he goes and talks to them all and wondered if, would you guys ever reunite, blah, blah, blah. So eventually the band does get back together and they cut a music video and blah, blah, blah. And it's posted and everybody's watching it. But I believe the host is working for G.I. Joe. And what they did was they put their own subliminal messaging into the video that reverse Uno'd the whole Cobra domination thing. So it says, you want to be with G.I. Joe and be the good guys and take Cobra down. So then all the public starts fighting back against Cobra, and that's the Cobra Commander's kingdom comes toppling down on top of him sort of thing. So a really cool kind of alternative issue that addresses this weird thing that's happened that's really cool, because I love the fact that the Dreadnoks are in a band and play this kind of like old rock and roll, like 80s style music. It's quite amazing. Last up, issue 11 of that kind of Origins G.I. Joe series. So there's basically a few things going on. Hound, you remember that Hound and Clutch went out to find more Energon because Hound needs it to survive. So they went back to the Cobra facility where they escaped from earlier, and Risk followed them. So at the end of the last issue, Mercer and a whole bunch of Cobra Vipers had gotten the drop on Risk and Clutch, and where they were about to be attacked, but Hound was kind of looming up behind the Cobra guys. So it starts there, and Hound, starts kicking the crap out of all the Cobra guys, and Risk is like, what the hell? It's another giant robot? Like, and you knew about this? And he's like, yeah, but it's cool. He's a good guy. We were just going to find some Energon because he needs it. So grab some of those guns and then let's get the hell out of here. So they peel off. So then Clutch kind of explains to Risk and brings him on board, because Risk was so suspicious of what Clutch was up to, right? That he feared that he'd gone over to the Cobra side, but it's actually quite different. It's just he's got a giant robot friend now. And so they go back to base after escaping from Cobra. And the other thing is CoverGirl and Baroness. So Baroness is in the pit with Major Blood, and they're having a kind of a death duel, while CoverGirl has taken off to go and try and save Baroness's parents, from Raptor. So Baroness is able to get the drop on Major Blood, and he actually has her on the ground, but she twists her knife so that it sticks into his other eye, his good eye. So he's now blind in both eyes, and he's, you bitch, and he's like, your parents will die because Raptor, if he doesn't hear from me, he's gonna kill them, and your girlfriend CoverGirl isn't enough to stop him anyway. So, but in the meantime, CoverGirl has gotten the drop on Raptor and has taken him out. So Baroness's parents are safe. Baroness takes down Major Blood, and Hound and Clutch and Risk all make it back to the pit. So everybody gets back to the pit, and Duke is kind of surprised to see Clutch and Risk kind of hanging out together and getting along. He's like, "Oh, that's weird." And then he sees Baroness come back with CoverGirl, and he's like, "Oh, Baroness did come back. That was a risk letting her go for a few days, but it seems everything went well." And in the meantime, there's one other person watching these events happen, and that's Hawk, the ultimate leader of the Joe team. And so he sees Baroness come back, and he's like, "Oh, okay, well that's good news for now." So he's on a call with Flint, who's leading the Night Force. And so Hawk is like, "Okay, Flint, stand down on the whole Baroness thing. It looks like for now, at least, she's playing ball and seems to be okay. But I've got another mission for you. You're to go to Darklonia and extract your next recruit." And it's some woman. There's a dossier on her, and I forget what her name is, but it looks like they're going to add another recruit to the Night Force and G.I. Joe team overall, I guess. So that's where that one ends. Can't wait to see what number 12 brings. And also get the next regular G.I. Joe issue. It was funny. When I went in October, I don't know if I went a couple days earlier than normal, and so I was not getting everything, but there wasn't a regular G.I. Joe issue this time around, and there wasn't a regular Turtles one. So I'm expecting I'll have a couple new Turtles and new Joe regular issues in November, but only time will tell, and I'll let you know what happens regardless. So stay tuned. Another month from now, we'll have another little comics review. Peace! Meow.